Together with Earle Sports Bets, yeah, the twins, they be checking in. Stacking up, green is the scene that you're stepping in. Winning is a trend, and we stay making dollars. Nerd talk with the sports bet scholars. Yeah, it's R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies. R.I.P. to the bookies.
We are live. Welcome back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. My name is Nicholas Earle. I'm joined here as always by my brother Sam. And today, the American League Central takes center stage. We'll be talking Guardians. We'll be talking Royals, Tigers, Twins, and of course, the one we're all been waiting for, Southside. Stand up, the Chicago White Sox. We'll be talking to them as well. I'm excited to talk to them for whatever reason. I was going through they made a lot of additions in the offseason. We'll get into that. They're the last team we'll talk about, though. But yesterday we talked the American League East, and I did post out my plays. So I do want to quickly go over those before we get into the American League Central, because I do want to, I post up on Twitter, but I do want to make them official here as well. I moved on the New York Yankees under 93.5 wins, minus 115 on Fanatics. I got Baltimore to miss the playoffs at plus 165 over on Bet365. I got Toronto over 78.5 wins, minus 110, BetMGM, and Toronto to make the playoffs plus 285 on DraftKings. I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 17-1 on the MVP at DraftKings. Got the Red Sox over 86.5 wins at minus 104 on FanDuel. I got them to win the division, the Red Sox, at plus 500 on Bet365. I got them to win the pennant at 10-1, a half a unit there on DraftKings. By the way, quarter unit on Vladdy there, and a quarter unit on Garrett Crochet Cy Young at 6-1 over on DraftKings. So I just want to make those official as well. I did move on those last night. And I will be moving on American League Central stuff after the show today.
Okay. Yeah, I put out all mine on the on my Twitter. You can find them there. I'm not going to go and list them all off.
All right, but then we will head to the chat, and then we'll get into some AL Central. I don't know how many futures I'm going to have in this division. I really don't. It's a big question mark for me, this division, but we'll see. What's good? What's good, Coyote? Orioles under. I agree with that. I didn't move on that one. I just took the plus 160. Yeah, I did get plus 160. Did I get 160 or 165? I think 165 on them. Baltimore, no playoffs, 165 on Bet365. Yep. Jays over. Love it. Red Sox to win the East. I got 5-1 over 86. Only minus 115 to make the playoffs. I saw I think minus 120 last night when I was looking there. But yeah, let's yeah. Oh, Canada today. Yes, love the spot for Canada. I think they come out pissed and they run through Finland today. We're not going to be going over that game. I did a free pick video for that one there. And as for the United States and Sweden, I'll let you know at the end of the Canada game. It's pretty simple for me. Is if we get Canada, or if that game goes past regulation between Canada and Finland today, I will bet Sweden to beat the United States and make the finals. So, especially if Canada wins in overtime. But yeah, that's the way I'm going to approach this there. Going to be a long season for the Jays. I don't think so. I don't think as bad as people think. And what a prediction on Finn. Yeah, that was frustrating. Yeah. But stupid-ass Canadians booing our anthem hyped up the USA too much. Maybe. I wonder if they'll boo the Canadian national anthem now in Boston, now that because they booed the American national anthem. I'm kind of curious about that. The show, the breakdown of all the teams are going to take a while. So, and for me, it's pretty simple. Here's my cap of that game. Canada comes out and smashes. They're off of a loss. Their back's up against the walls. They have a much deeper lineup than Finland does. I think that Canada can take advantage of what Sweden couldn't, is the depth scoring there. When you look at the third and fourth line for Canada, I think they can do laps around the blue line of Finland, that down deep there. And I think the firepower comes out. They're pissed off. And we all know the NHL wants USA Canada one more time. So I think that's exactly what we'll get. But exactly what we'll get is how much we talk about the American League Central. Weird division. Let's get started. We'll head up to Cleveland. Head up to the land. The Cleveland Guardians, reigning AL Central Division champions. Their win total is 82.5 to make the playoffs, plus 105. To miss the playoffs, minus 135. To win the AL Central, plus 290. To win the American League, 14-1. To win the World Series, 35-1. Let's take a look at what we should expect from this. Let me get up my notes here for the Guardians as I was scrolled all the way down to the White Sox there. Seconds have a projected 2025 payroll of $96 million, which is 25th in baseball, which sucks because I know their owner is one of the richest owners in baseball, but that's beyond the point. They did finish 92-68 in 2024. They won the American League Central. They got the bye, or one of the two buys, all the way to the ALDS. They took care of the upstart Detroit Tigers there with bullpen chaos. They won that series in 5 before they met their match against the Yankees in the following round, losing 4-1 in the ALCS. They averaged 4.4 runs per game, which is 14th in baseball, 21st in batting average, 238, 17th in OPS, 702. They were 12th in home runs, 185. They were 6th in stolen bases, 148. That's the way the Cleveland Guardians are going to roll. They're going to manufacture runs. They're not a team that's going to blow you away with power, even though they were 12th in baseball in home runs. They are a team that are going to make contact, they're going to steal bases, and they're going to manufacture runs that way. Their bullpen is where they hung their hat. They were second in baseball in runs per game allowed, 3.61 team ERA. They were 4th in team whip at 1.2. Only 43 quality starts, which was 27th in baseball, which is just fine when you have arguably the best bullpen we'd seen since the 2015 Royals. I think we were seeing comparisons between those two. And then they were 17th in defense with 87 errors. Looking at their additions and subtractions, they signed Vince Velasquez, starting right-handed pitcher, to a minor league deal, as well as starting pitcher Colby Allard. They got Paul Sewald off the free agent market, relief pitcher, as well as first baseman Carlos Santana. They also got starting pitcher Slade Cecconi in a trade from Arizona. They acquired Luis L. Ortiz in a trade from Pittsburgh. They got outfielder Nick Mitchell in a trade from Toronto, and they just picked up Jacob Junis, kind of a swingman starting reliever type over there. Their subtractions, Pedro Avila, they lost him to waivers. They non-tenured Connor Gillespie. They outrighted James Karinchak to the minor leagues. They lost Alex Cobb in free agency, as well as starting pitcher Matthew Boyd. They traded Miles Straw to Toronto and a little bit of international bonus pool money. They traded Josh Naylor to the Arizona Diamondbacks, which I believe netted them Slade Cecconi in that trade. And they also traded away Nick Sandlin, relief pitcher, and second baseman Andres Jimenez to the Toronto Blue Jays, which I believe netted them in that trade. That was the trade that got them Nick Mitchell. It also got them Spencer Horwitz, which they ended up trading to Pittsburgh in exchange for Luis L. Ortiz. And they also got Eli Morgan, or they traded Eli Morgan to the Chicago Cubs. Their projected lineup for this year: left fielder Stephen Kwan, DH Kyle Manzardo, third baseman Jose Ramirez, first baseman Carlos Santana, center fielder Lane Thomas, right fielder Will Brennan, second baseman John Brito, catcher Bo Naylor, and shortstop Ryan Rocchio. I'm assuming they're trying to put Big Christmas in that lineup as well. as he is listed on the bench according to Fangraphs. Their starting rotation doesn't wow, but I mean, Tanner Bybee was a 1 last year. He looked really strong. He will be the ace of the staff. Ben Lively, Gavin Williams looking for a bounce back year. Luis Earle Ortiz and Tristan McKenzie also looking for a bounce back year. And if they don't get bounce back years from those, that's fine because they still have returning one of the best bullpens in baseball. I think they only lost Sandlin and Morgan from that there. They added Slade Cecconi to the bullpen. They have Eric Sablowski, Andrew Walters, Tim Herron, Paul Sewald they added to that bullpen, Hunter Gladys, Cade Smith, and Emmanuel Clase, arguably the best closing pitcher in all of baseball. Let's take a look at their prospects there. And they have 2 prospects in the top 36 that they're expecting probably to join the team in 2025. It starts with the number 10 prospect in all of baseball, second baseman Travis Bazzana, their number 1 overall pick out of Oregon State last draft. Also, they have outfielder Chase DeLauder, who is the number 36 prospect in baseball, looking to make the team sometime this year. And then they have number 60 outfielder Jason Chourio. If that last name sounds familiar, his brother plays for Milwaukee, Jackson Chourio. They expect him in 2027. And then infielder Angel Gagano, 62nd overall prospect in all of baseball, due up in 2026. Is it just me or the Guardians feel disrespected a little bit again this year? And seeing plus money next to their name to make the playoffs, I get it. People want to buy into the Royals. I like this roster I think this roster for the Guardians is deeper than what the Royals have, over 162. And I could see them repeating as American League Central Division winners. Here's the ultimate question. When it comes to this American League Central, if you like a team to make the playoffs, I think I would just bet them to win the division. I don't know how many teams make it out of the Central this year. I know. We had 3 last year.
Yep.
There's also a 121 lost team in that division, which I think will probably be 105 to 108 this year, not 121. So that's 13 games that they're not going to lose this year, I believe. And are the Guardians good enough to repeat as American League Central Division winners? They would be my pick right now. They did not get worse, I don't think, in the offseason. I like some of the moves they made. I love the addition of Luis Earle Ortiz. I thought he had some potential in Pittsburgh. I think that they can tap into something there. Ben Lively is not a sexy name, but he'll get you innings. Next thing we'll know, it'd be late September. He's throwing you 160, 170 pitches at a 4 ERA. It's good enough. I think Gavin Williams bounces back this year. He dealt with a few injuries last year, and I think that really hurt him. So I do think he does bounce back. I think this lineup is pretty strong. I like the addition of Carlos Santana. I hate that they got rid of Josh Naylor, though. Wasn't a fan of that there. I love Stephen Kwan just as a player. I think he's a much better version of Luis Ariz, where he doesn't have to hit for 330 to be valuable. Compared to what Luis Ariz does. And I like Manzardo. We saw him a little bit towards the end of last year. He's going to be, I don't know if he's still qualified under rookie status, but he's somebody to keep an eye on as well. We saw some power out of him last year. I think this lineup is good enough to win the American League Central again. I think this team is good enough to make the playoffs again and go from there. I like this. I think this is still one of the best bullpens in baseball. They didn't lose much. So I would look only towards, and I think if you like anything out of this division, if you like a team to make the playoffs, I would just bet them to win the division at this point. And I think I might have plus 290 Guardians to win the Central Division in my back pocket by the time the show's over.
I'm going to be on the opposite side. I took them to miss the playoffs. I took them under their win total. I could see... Yes, I'm going to be one of those people that are on the Royals. We'll talk about them in a minute. My big question mark is, will you get enough offense from the Guardians? And I kind of want to say their lineup is pretty similar to the Yankee lineup. You got J-Ram. And I don't know if you have much else. Nate, because I look at it, Bo Naylor is still young. We'll see what we're going to get out of him.
He's a defensive catcher.
Yeah, he's a defensive catcher. Carlos Santana is getting up there. All right, yeah, 38 years old. I don't know how much you're going to get out of him, whether or not you'll even get a full season out of him. Juan Brito, which I mean is a young guy, so we'll see what you get out of him. J-Ram, I will say I did take a future J-Ram 13-1 to win the MVP. He's always in the conversation. I think he's the only good bat in that lineup. Stephen Kwan's going to get you average, which is great. I do like Lane Thomas. I think Lane Thomas is going to be a decent 1-2 punch. I think Noel is.
Put some respect on Lee Thomas and Manzardo and Kwan. That's a good lineup.
Kwan will be consistent. I don't know if it's going to be good enough. Noel is bigger. Boomer bust, and Kyle Mazzaro is still like a rookie, so we'll see what you get out of him. I know you can look at what he did last year. He played in 53 games in the regular season, and he hit 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, 34 hits, and 145 at bats. He was all right. He wasn't anything special last year, so we'll see what you get out of him. I just don't think this team is. You think this team is deep enough? I don't think this team is deep enough, and I like another team a little bit more in this division. I think Cleveland could potentially finish third place in the division. I think Kansas City finishes above them, and Minnesota will compete with them. So I took their
we'll talk about Minnesota and a few teams. I can't buy into Minnesota. They're a frustrating team. I can't buy into them until they can prove to me they can stay healthy.
Also, I got and keep in mind I bet these a month ago, but I got Cleveland under 84.5 wins. They're now 82.5 wins. So I beat a little bit of a line movement. So I'm happy with at least that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm rolling with.
I feel like that I love the Jose Ramirez MVP tickets. The only problem is the only thing you're winning with Jose Ramirez MVP tickets is CLV. Because he'll be 13-1 or whatever preseason. By the end of the year, he'll be 6-1, 7-1, and finish third. And it's frustrating to watch because he's somebody who, if he played in New York with the Yankees, if he played in Boston, if he played in Houston, he'd be in the MVP talks every single year. He's the best third baseman in baseball, Jose Ramirez, and I will die on that hill right now. He is the best third baseman in baseball. I don't think it's close.
No.
So, yes, I would love to see him win an MVP. Is it ever going to happen? Probably not. Just because he plays in Cleveland.
Fair enough. Do you want to go to the chat real quick? I'm going to go run and do something for 2 minutes, and I'll be back for the Royals.
Yeah. I was trying to see if Gavin Williams had Cy Young futures. He does not. All right, let's take a look here back at the chat. We going over it. We can. I touched on it a little bit. I did a free pick video for it, but yeah. So Sweden wins in reg and Canada wins in reg. Canada goes in. Yes, they have the tiebreaker over Sweden because they beat them in overtime. That's a pretty simple explanation behind that. Yeah. So if the only way Sweden makes it in is if the first game goes to overtime and they win in regulation against the United States. If that first game goes into overtime, I can very well see the United States kind of pull back a little bit to play Sweden in the finals, which I'll have at the end. So, yeah, there's that. Supness, what's good, Lex? Out of all those names, I know Junie. I love learning more. There you go. Indians to make the playoffs sounds nice. Yeah, Guardians to win the division plus 300. Yeah, I'm probably going to end up moving on that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah. So it'll be Canada versus USA, basically. If Canada wins in regulation, then yes. The odds are most likely the answer to that is yes. But they still got to play the game, and we all know Finland could be a little bit of a pain in the ass to go up against. So, but we'll continue on. We have the Kansas City Royals here in this one. The Royals, 82.5, their win total this year. To make the playoffs, plus 115. To miss the playoffs, minus 150. AL Central, they're 3-1. American League, they're 15-1. World Series, they are 40-1. 1. Heading into 2025, their projected payroll is $132 million, which is 20th in baseball. They went 86 and 76 in 2024, finishing second in the American League Central. They swept the Orioles in the wild card round before losing in 4 games to the New York Yankees. Offensively, they had 4.71 runs per game, which was 8th in baseball, a .253 batting average, which was 6th in baseball, 725 OPS, which was 12th, 167 home runs, which is 19th, 128 stolen bases, which is 11th. Their team ERA was 10th in baseball at 3.85, 18th for team WHIP, 1.26. They had 76 quality starts, which was 3rd in baseball, and they had 75 errors, which was 4th in baseball. A very good defensive team, and they had a really nice rotation, and they're bringing back a decent amount of that as well. For additions, they brought in starting pitcher, relief pitcher, kind of a swingman to a minor league deal, Thomas Hatch. They brought in relief pitcher Carlos Estevez. They, I believe, claimed off of waivers, or I don't remember exactly how they got him. Infielder, outfielder Kevin Bingio, which just never worked out in Toronto. Maybe a change in scenery will be good for him. A couple starting pitchers, Michael Lorenzen and Michael Wacha. So a couple of Michaels there. They had the trade to Kansas City. The trade to Cincinnati. They acquired second baseman Jonathan India, who might be their DH this year, and outfielder Joey Wiemer. They also recently signed Luke Maile, catcher, to a minor league deal. Their subtractions, they lost Yuri Gurriel in free agency, as well as Tommy Pham, relief pitcher Will Smith, outfielder Robbie Grossman, outfielder Garrett Hampson, and infielder Paul DeYoung. They declined the mutual option on outfielder Austin Frazier, and they traded starting pitcher Brady Singer to Cincinnati, the trade that got him India and Wiemer. Their projected lineup is batting first, DH Jonathan India, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., first baseman Vinny Pasquantino, catcher Salvador Perez, second baseman Michael Massey, right fielder Hunter Renfroe, left fielder MJ Melendez, third baseman Michael Garcia, center field Kyle Isbell. Their rotation's kind of nice, but kind of falls off a little bit. Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo, your top 2. And then you have Michael Wacha, Michael Lorenzen, Chris Bubik. Your 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they're solid 4s. Bubik's a solid 5, but yeah, it's probably good enough for the AL Central to compete in it at the very least. Their bullpen, long relief pitcher Carlos Hernandez and Sam Long. They also have Chris Stratton, Angel Zerpa, John Schreiber, Hunter Harvey, Lucas Urseg, and they signed Carlos Estevez. Their top prospects, they have 3 top 100 prospects. None of them are projected to join the team in 2025. Their top prospects is the 22nd overall prospect, first baseman, their first-round draft pick this year, Jack Caglione.
Yeah.
Who's due up in 2026. He's got some pop.
Bags, yes.
He's going to hit some bombs.
And
he's not pitching, though. He's not pitching in the minor. He's not going to be pitching in the minor.
He could.
I think he could, yeah. And then they also have 48th overall prospect catcher Blake Mitchell, who's due up in 2027. And also another catcher, 86th overall, Carter Jensen. Would not be surprised to see one of those two traded for some assets. But also, this could be a situation where in 2027, one's your starter, one's your backup when Salvador Perez is retired. So that they also have that as well. This is a fun Kansas City Royals team. What are we going to get from Salvador Perez? He's getting up there in age now. Vinny Pasquantino has a little bit of an injury history, but if he can stay healthy, he's a solid hitter. Bobby Witt Jr. is the best shortstop in baseball. And I think in a couple years, we can argue who's the best player in baseball. Jonathan India, I think he's going to be just fine in Kansas City. And after that, it's like a bunch of decent hitters, nothing crazy. I want to believe in Michael Garcia. He's somebody who the last couple of seasons, his advanced numbers have been good, but it just doesn't materialize on the field, which is frustrating to watch. Melendez is the same way. Their rotation, they're going to live and die by this rotation. Cole Reagans could be arguably one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball. But the crazy thing is he's probably third in the American League behind these guys named Skubal and Crochet, which we'll talk about Skubal in the next team. Seth Lugo had a nice year last year. It was a full year away from being a reliever. He did that in San Diego as well, but he was much better last year in Kansas City. I don't know what to expect from Lorenzen, Waka, and Bubic. I honestly don't. I think if you get 150 to 160 innings out of them at a 4 ERA, 4.5 ERA, you're happy if you're the Royals with those guys. Their bullpen is improved. I will give them that. I love the addition of Carlos Estevez. I think this division is going to come down to the Royals and the Guardians. Those are going to be the two teams in this division. My worry is if they learn to pitch around Bobby Witt Jr., who's going to hurt you in this lineup other than a Salvador Perez occasional home run? So that's my ultimate question mark with this team is they feel like a light version of the Yankees with Bobby Witt Jr. being Aaron Judge. And then who else is going to burn you? Yes, you can make the comparisons with Pasquantino and Goldschmidt or Perez with Bellinger or something along those lines. But this lineup, I need to see it. I need to see them be able to. And here's the last thing I'll make a point on the Royals. Can their lineup make it so they're not over reliant on Bobby Witt Jr.? Because if Bobby Witt Jr. has to put up another 10-WAR season in order for this team to make a wild card spot, I'll be a little bit concerned.
I'm all in on the Royals. I know you just had your whole entire spiel on it. I'm all in on the Royals. I think their pitching is going to be strong enough this year. Cole Reagans, I did not take a Cy Young ticket on Cole Reagans this year. I didn't do it, but I think he's going to have a massive year. I think Seth Lugo is going to take a little bit of a step down, but nothing crazy. He'll still be consistent. He's just not going to pitch to what he was last year, which last year he had a career year, a 16-9 record, a 3 ERA, which was 10th in baseball, 181 strikeouts and a 1.09 whip. He's not going to do that again this year. But I do think he's another one. He is going to be in a contract year. Granted, he's going to be entering his age 35, 36 season, but he will be in a contract year to get something because somebody will pay him. Waka and Lorenzen, I think you're going to get consistent years of. Once again, as you mentioned, as long as you can get 150 innings each out of them or something in that range with around a 4 ERA, I think they'll be fine. And I do like Bubic. I do think Bubic has a good year. I know that he didn't really pitch a lot. He didn't start any games last year. He just pitched in 27 games to a 2.67 ERA and a 1.02 whip in 30 innings. I think you're going to get a little bit more out of him, but I think that could be a little bit more of a starter game or an opener game, and then it goes into a bullpen game. So something to keep in mind with them with that. I know you made the concerns with the offense. Salvador Perez really hasn't slowed down.
He hasn't.
Because he still went off for 27 homers and 104 RBIs last year. And hitting 270.
When does Father Time catch up with him now? Is my question mark with him.
Keep in mind, he's only going into age 34. So
also keep in mind he's a catcher.
Yes, he is. I have a feeling by the end of the year, you're going to see him more towards the DH. And you're going to see Freddie Furman. You're going to see Freddie Furman and Salvador Perez platoon at catcher. I think you're going to see Furman in that catching spot a little bit more often. I do think Salvi has a big year. You could also see, and you want to know who's going to be the backup to him? Vinny Pasquantino. Or for Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino is going to be big. He was injured a little bit last year. He still went off for 19 homers and 97 RBIs, and he only played 131 games. Imagine if he gives you a full season, he's going to be hitting 25 to 30 homers, getting you 120 RBIs. He's going to be a big candidate to be something special on this team. Obviously, you talked about Bobby Witt. The addition of Jonathan India is going to be huge. I feel like that's going to be a big spot for this Royals team. You're going to get a lot of production out of India this year in that leadoff role, because I do think you're going to have India batting leadoff.
Yes.
Melendez is going to be a guy I think you're going to get a decent production from. Last year, he only played 135 games, 17 home runs. He's got a lot of pop. I think it's another guy you're going to get some stuff out of. And then Freddie Freeman is going to be an interesting player. He played in 111 games. Granted, it was kind of his rookie year. Six home runs, 36 RBIs, but a 271 batting average. If you have somebody batting almost 300 at the bottom of the lineup, I think that's going to be pretty solid for you. And then Hunter Renfroe is going to be a decent, piece? Like a depth piece, but a veteran on the team. Either way, go ahead, give me over 82.5 wins for the Royals. Give me them to make the playoffs at plus 110. I got them to win the Central at plus 330. I got them to win the AL at 18-1. And I took a shot on them to win the World Series at 45-1. This is a team that had a big year last year, and I think they take another step up this year. I also took 2 player futures, and they both involve Mr. Bobby Witt. Because I took him to have the most hits in baseball at plus 750. And then I also took him to win the MVP at 5-1. Now, I think that the only way that he wins MVP is an injury from Judge, or the Yankees to not have a great year, and Witt being the reason why the Royals win the world, make it to the playoffs. But at the same time, I could see all that happening. So I took him 5-1 to win the MVP as well. I'm all in on the Royals, kind of similar how I was all in on the Red Sox. Nick,
Good luck. This, I mean, as fun as it would be to believe in this Royals team, I just don't know yet. I just don't know.
That's fair.
Back to the chat, and then we'll move on to Detroit.
Where did you leave off? Because I left for it.
That's right. Left off there.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched almost every game of Four Nations. Cool. Cool. Hunter Renfroe still plays baseball. Hunter Renfroe, yeah. And it's Renfroe. And he's had quite a year. I believe I thought he was a World Series champ. No. He made the World Series in 2020 with Tampa. That's what it was. But not touching the Royal team. Morning, Markel. It's Royals versus Guardians for the division. I'm predicting a fall from the Tigers this year. We'll talk about them in a minute.
We'll get into the Tigers next, yep.
But I'm putting my money on the Indians. More experience. I have them more trust in them. I'm sticking with the Royals.
Let's get into the next one here. We have the Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Tigers. Their win total is 83.5. To make the playoffs, plus 110. To miss the playoffs, minus 145. To win the AL Central, plus 240. To win the American League, 11-1. To win the World Series, 30-1. Let's take a look at what the Tigers have to offer. Their 2025 projected payroll, $142 million. That's 19th in baseball. They also finished exactly the same as the Royals, 86-76 in 2024. They finished third in the division. They took down the big bad Astros 2-0 in the wild card round before going and having a hard-fought series and losing in 5 to the Cleveland Guardians. Offensively is where they struggled last year. 4.21 runs per game, which was 19th. A 234 batting average, which is 22nd. A 685 OPS, 22nd. 162 home runs, 21st. 76 stolen bases, 25th. Their pitching is where they hung their hat, though. 3.61 team ERA, third in baseball. 1.16 team WHIP, second in baseball. Their bullpen chaos was genius. 54 quality starts, which was 17th. They were 9th in baseball with 80 errors. As far as addition subtractions, they are arguably the shortest list of any team I've typed in so far, and I'm almost done with the full American League. Their additions: starting pitcher Jack Flaherty, relief pitcher Tommy Kahnle, second baseman Gleyber Torres, starting pitcher Alex Cobb, relief pitcher John Brebbia. Their subtractions: in a trade to Tampa Bay, they lost Alex Faedo. That's it. That is all their additions and subtractions. So did they get better this year? Yeah. Do I expect negative regression from this team? Yeah. Let's get into their top prospects, which they have one top 5 prospect that is going to be part of this team this year. But they do have one of the better farm systems in baseball. They have 6 players in the MLB.com top 100 prospects. And it starts off with right-handed pitcher Jackson Jobe, number 5 overall. Going to be a stud. And him and Skubal are going to be fun to watch when it comes to a 1-2 punch in that rotation. And that's not even including Jack Flaherty. Max Clark is the 6th overall prospect in baseball. Outfielder, they expect him up in 2027. Kevin McGonigal, their 28th overall prospect in baseball. Shortstop, second baseman, due up in 2027. Shortstop Bryce Rainer's 53rd overall in Major League Baseball. They just drafted him in the first round out of high school last draft. They expect him in 2028. Thyron Luzardo is the 82nd overall prospect. He's due up in 2026. He's a catcher, first baseman. And same thing with Jose Bursinho. They expect him up in 2027, the 95th overall prospect, catcher, first baseman. Let's talk Tigers here, and I totally forgot to type in their lineup and their rotation. Wow, I completely blanked on that one. Let me bring up the Fangraphs page so I can go over what their lineup's going to look like and what their rotation is going to look like, because for some reason that slipped by me and I never typed it up. Sometime today would be a Tigers team that I know a lot of people really liked last year. They really struggled, and then they hit that hot streak at the end of the year where they were unbeatable heading into the playoffs. When this loads, Tim, your quick thoughts on the Tigers when I'm having this load up real quick.
I took them under their win total. That was the only thing I really jumped on. Is I got under 83.5 wins. Honestly, I just don't think they have enough pitching to get through. Tariq Skubal is going to be solid. Flaherty is going to be a nice piece bringing him back. I can't really trust the rest of the rotation. Reese Olson is a guy that you're lucky if you get a decent chunk of innings out of him. Casey Mize is still coming back from injury. He started 20 games last year, but it's another guy that, 4.49 ERA. He's got to have a bigger year than that in order for me to really trust him. And then Jackson Jobe is a guy coming up that we've seen all of 2 appearances from. 4 appearances, because 2 of them were in the playoffs. I just want to see a little bit more out of him first before I could really trust this. I don't think pitching chaos is going to work this year. That's my thing. And I look at their lineup. Colby Keith could have a big year. This lineup just looks underwhelming to me. Like, there isn't any scary bats. Gleyber Torres is going to have a consistent year like he always does. Riley Green maybe a little bit of a year. But, this lineup doesn't look good to me. I think the Tigers overachieved last year. And when it comes to it, I think them making the playoffs, them making a nice run last year, it's going to make it very easy and give us a lot of value on them to miss the playoffs in general. I think this is a 4th-place team. So I took them under their wins. I'm sorry, Lenny. I know you were excited from last year. I don't see them bouncing back and doing it again. I took them under 83.5 wins. Next year, maybe.
This team reminds me. Now, I don't think this is going to be as extreme. They give me Marlins vibes.
No, I don't think it's going to be as extreme.
From last
because
year.
they still at least have their big pitcher.
And for me, the way I was looking at the Detroit Tigers team is
You good?
lagging really bad. But when it comes to this Tigers team, for me, it's not the pitching that bothers me. It's the hitting for me there. Parker Meadows is their projected leadoff hitter, second baseman. Gleyber Torres, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter. Please stop platooning Kerry Carpenter. Please stop platooning Kerry Carpenter. Thank you very much. Matt Bierling, Colt Keith, Jace Jung, Jake Rogers, Trey Sweeney. That's a bottom 10 offense in baseball.
Yep.
I think. Where they're going to perform is their rotation. Tariq Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball. Jack Flaherty is going to be a solid 2. Jackson Jobe is going to be a stud. Reese Olson and Casey Mize, I think, are good back of the rotation pitchers. Their bullpen, Kenta Maeda, have him as a long swing man. Cool, whatever. John Brebbia, Sean Gunther, Will Vest, Tommy Canley, Tyler Holton, Bo Brisket, Jason Foley. I mean, their bullpen's still fine. For me, though, are they going to be able to score 4 runs a game to be able to win enough games? Because their pitching is going to be able to hold teams down.
Yep.
But I don't think their offense is good enough. I'm going to love betting unders when it comes to Detroit Tiger games this year. Under the totals, first 5 unders, full game unders. Their bullpen's still good. Their starting pitching is still good. The only thing that worries me about this Tigers team is I don't think they're going to hit enough to really be able to win enough games. I'm going to be on the under 83.5 wins as well for this team. And it's not that they got worse. It's just I expect some negative regression from them as well. And I don't think they were as good as they were last year. I think that they definitely overachieved last year. And this is a Tigers team that I know we were on a decent amount towards the end of the year last year. This is a team I think that comes back down to earth a little bit. And it's going to be, I think, Royals and Guardians competing more than these two.
And I think the next team you're going to see a little bit more out of than the Tigers.
Yeah, the next team is really confusing, but they're a fun team if they can stay healthy. But head back to the chat, and then we'll get into those.
Tigers under wins. I would 100% have to agree with you. Finland has a chance to do the funniest thing ever today. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Nick. How are you? We're good. They are definitely not.
Yeah.
You okay, Nick? Yeah, Nick's all right. This is definitely an interesting team here.
Yeah. The Minnesota Twins. Let me switch the background here because we don't need Tiger logos for the Twins. We need Twins logos for the Twins. Let's get into those Minnesota Twins. Their win total 83.5 this year. To make the playoffs, plus 115. To miss the playoffs, minus 150. To win the American League Central, they are the favorites at plus 210. That caught me off guard. 11-1 to win the American League, 30-1 to win the World Series. This is the biggest what-if team in baseball. I feel like the Minnesota Twins need to go out and get Jacob deGrom so they can just add an injury-prone players to their roster. But their 2025 projected payroll $146 million, 18th in baseball. And we expect them to potentially shed a little bit more payroll with their TV deals falling through and things along those lines. They finished 82-80 last year. They kind of ran out of gas towards the end of the year. 4th place in the American League Central. They missed the playoffs. They were 12th in baseball with 4.58 runs per game. They were 13th with a 246 batting average. They were 11th with a 726 OPS. 13th, 183 home runs. 29th in stolen bases, 65. They didn't steal many bases at all. Their team ERA, 4.26, 20th. However, their team whip, 1.23, was 6th. So that tells me they gave up a lot of home runs when their ERA is high and their whip's low. or anybody who got on base kind of scored. They had 62 quality starts, which was 11th in baseball. They were third in errors, only 70. Their additions, not too much to talk about. And most of these were within the last week and a half, 2 weeks that they made these acquisitions. They signed outfielder Harrison Bader. They got relief pitcher Danny Colomé. They signed Mike Ford, a first baseman Mike Ford, to a minor league deal, as well as starting pitcher Hyusker Yanoa to a minor league deal as well. And they signed first baseman Ty France. Their subtractions, they outrighted Josh Winder to the minor leagues. They lost Carlos Santana in free agency. They lost Anthony Desclafani in free agency. They lost Caleb Thibar, a relief pitcher in free agency as well. Max Kepler to free agency. And then the team declined neutral options on infielder Kyle Farmer and outfielder Manel Margot. Their projected lineup for this year: DH Willie Castro, shortstop Carlos Correa, a left fielder Trevor Larnach, center fielder Byron Buxton, fielder Matt Wallner, third baseman Royce Lewis, first baseman Jose Miranda, second baseman Brooks Lee, catcher Ryan Jeffers. Their rotation, I think, is still a question mark. Pablo Lopez will be their headliner. Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Simeon Woods Richardson, Chris Paddock. They need to get Chris Paddock out of that rotation so they can put someone like a Zebby Matthews or a Matt Festa. I think those two guys need to be in the rotation and not Chris Paddock. If they need to shed payroll, find a way to get him off the line, the roster there. Their bullpen is Eberson Castellano, Michael Tonkin, Daniel Colomé, Jorge Alcala, Brock Stewart, Cole Sands, and then probably one of the best 8th, 9th inning 1-2 punches with Griffin Jackson, Yohan Duran. Their top prospects, they got 3 of them. They have the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, Walter Jenkins, who's expected up next year, an outfielder. They also have the 37th overall prospect, due up this year, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and then also due up this year, 61st overall prospect in all baseball, first baseman, second baseman, outfielder Luke Keeschel. We all know the issue with the Minnesota Twins. Do we need to say it? It's injuries. It's health. Because on paper, if this team stays 100% healthy, should be the favorites in this division. However, Byron Buxton's not going to play more than 110 games. Royce Lewis is not going to play more than 100 games. Brooks Lee dealt with injuries last year. Carlos Correa has dealt with injuries. Matt Wallner, I think, could step up and be pretty decent on this team. And then even when we look at looking at some of the minor league guys, Walker Jenkins has dealt with injuries in the minor leagues all throughout his minor leagues. Emmanuel Rodriguez has dealt with injuries all through the minor leagues. This team needs to figure out a way to stay healthy because, God damn it, if they do, they are one of the best teams in the American League. They never stay healthy. And that's the ultimate question and that's what you're betting on when you're betting the Minnesota Twins. Are they going to stay healthy? I think the answer to that is no. As much as I would love to see a full season from Royce Lewis and Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa and Brooks Lee, I think we're living in a fairy tale world if you think all those guys are going to play more than 100 games this year. It's just plain and simply not going to happen. And then their depth after that is just non-existent. And it's frustrating to watch, but the Minnesota Twins have one of the best rosters in baseball if the injured list wasn't a thing. And they're a team that they're going to I can't trust them because it's pretty simple. They're the biggest boom-bust team in the American League. They could finish 4th in this division, struggle to stay healthy, and lose 85 to 90 games this year. Or the absolute ceiling of this team is they can win the World Series. There, I said it. The ceiling of this team is they win the American League, they go on and win the World Series. However, that's a top 1% outcome, and that's telling me if that happens, Buxton, Lewis, Lee, Correa, all play over 120 games, 130 games. Pablo Lopez goes back to being the Marlins version of Pablo Lopez that we saw. Joe Ryan takes a huge step up. So does Bailey Ober, and so does Simeon Woods-Richardson. That bullpen continues to be really strong. I like the end of that bullpen with Griffin Jackson, Yohan Duran. So this is the ultimate boom-bust team. If you want a dark horse to win the World Series, if this team can stay healthy, they could be that good. However, I'm not trusting them to do that. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to have 3 futures in this division because this is a weird division. I'm going to be taking the next team. I'm going to be told where the next team we'll talk about. Other than that, like this team, this division does not excite me whatsoever. And this is the biggest what if in baseball is the Minnesota Twins. What if they stay healthy? And if they stay healthy, they're winning 90 to 95 games. They're winning the division, and they're fighting for the American League and the pennant.
I'll say this is probably the only team that I'll have 0 futures on. None. Because I've had futures on every other team. I'm probably going to have futures on every single team. The Twins are just the biggest question mark ever. And all of it is whether or not they stay healthy, as you just mentioned. And I don't want to play that game. They could, and I kind of 100% agree with everything you just said. They could either go finish finish 4th place in this division, win 72 games, and completely bomb. Or would we be surprised? No, well, I would be surprised if they all stayed healthy. But this team could also go out and win 95 games, win the division, win the AL, win the World Series. But that requires every single player to stay healthy. I don't see it. I don't see it with them. I'm not taking any futures with this one. The fact that they're favored to win the division is kind of crazy. This is the only team I'm taking no futures with, so I'm going to be quick on them. No futures for the Twins for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a believer in the Twins. I bet them to win the division 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I just can't believe in them anymore with the way this team is injury-wise.
I agree.
But go back to the chat, and then we will talk some. White Sox.
Under Twins is the only way I can look. I kind of agree with that one. Any thoughts on the spring training for the Astros? No thoughts on them. Pass. Saving the best for last. You know it. Morning, gentlemen. Morning, untouchable. Utah to sweep Kansas today in basketball. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. I don't have the spreadsheet up. I don't think we had no value on any side today. And Utah's against Kansas
my full
State.
attention's on that Canada thing again.
Utah is against Kansas State, not Kansas. Baylor money line. That would be a ranked versus unranked system play. I don't want to fade Arizona. That's a squad that I kind of like this year. Biggest what if the biggest what if the White Sox win the division. No. White Sox win the World Series. No, I don't want to hear anything. Best take of the show. You know what, Nick? Let's go ahead.
I cannot wait. This is the team I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And here's the thing. They did make some moves in the offseason. Let's talk about it. The Chicago White Sox. Their win total this year is 53.5. God damn, that's low. That's almost as low as what the Oakland Athletics were last year. They're to make the playoffs, 30-1. To miss the playoffs, minus 20,000. To win the American League Central, 250-1. To win the American League, 200-1. They have a better chance at winning the American League than they do the American League Central.
That's crazy.
To win the World Series, 50-1, 500-1 is this Chicago White Sox team. Let's talk about them. Their 2025 projected payroll, $80 million, 25th in baseball. They went an astounding 41 and 121 in 2024. To no surprise, they finished 5th in the American League Central and missed the playoffs.
What?
They were, I believe I have it written down 29th on all these, but I think that Oakland was not a part of. I think covers removed Oakland from these stats, which bumped these all up to 29th. They were dead last in runs per game at 3.13, at batting average 221, a 618 OPS, dead last, 133 home runs, dead last, and I believe 23rd with 90 stolen bases. Their team pitching, 4.67 runs per game, which was 27th in baseball, 1.44 whip, which is 28th, 23rd in quality starts, 49. They were 23rd in errors, 90 of them. They made a lot of additions here. Let me get the full list here. And it starts with minor league deals for infielder Brandon Drury, relief pitcher James Karinchak, and catcher Omar Narvaez. Also infielder, outfielder Bobby Dahlbeck. They brought in starting pitcher Martin Perez, infielder Josh Rojas, starting pitcher Bryce Wilson, outfielder Mike Tauchman. Some more minor league deals for infielder Nick Matar and outfielder Cal Mitchell. They signed Austin Slater, outfielder, to a deal. They signed a minor league deal with Justin Dunn. They traded for relief pitcher Tyler Gilbert from the Phillies. If you remember Tyler Gilbert's name, a couple of years ago as a rookie, he threw a no-hitter with Arizona. Yep. They also acquired relief pitcher Cam Buze from the Boston Red Sox in a trade. They would also trade with the Red Sox a little bit more, as we'll mention in a second. They got catcher Matt Thaiss from the Chicago Cubs. They acquired Kyle Teal, catcher from Boston, who was one of their first round or second round draft picks a couple years ago out of Virginia. They got Braden Montgomery from Boston, and they got Chase Mydroff from Boston as well. So they got, I believe, Montgomery was the first round pick of the Red Sox in last year's draft. Mydroff is going to be one of their top prospects. They signed outfielder first baseman Joey Gallo, as well as outfielder Michael A. Taylor and infielder Brandon Drury to a minor league deal. I already typed in that one. My bad. I already mentioned that one there. That was the first one I mentioned. Their subtractions. They got a little bit of a list here. They non-tendered Gavin Sheets, as well as they non-tendered relief pitcher Angel De Los Santos. They outrighted Nicky Lopez in the minor leagues, as well as relief pitcher Jimmy Lambert. They lost Mike Clevenger in free agency, as well as Dominic Leone, relief pitcher, starting pitcher Chris Flexen, relief pitcher Mike Soroka. They declined the club option on catcher Max Stassi. They declined the club option on third baseman Yohan Moncada. And they traded Garrett Crochet to the Boston Red Sox, which did net them Kyle Teal, Chase Mydroff, and Brandon Montgomery. Their projected lineup: Mike Tauchman, Luis Robert Jr., Andrew Benintendi, Andrew Vaughn, Josh Rojas, Lennon Sosa, Miguel Vargas, Colston Montgomery, and Corey Lee. Their rotation: their opening day starter, Martin Perez, Jonathan Cannon, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, and Bryce Wilson round out the rotation. I'm really looking forward to see Thorpe back with the team, hopefully, eventually. Their bullpen is a list of who the hell is this guy: Shane Smith, Tyler Gilbert, Jared Schuster, Cam Bouger, Gus Varlin, Prelander Baroa, Frazier Ellard, and Justin Anderson. Their top prospects, at the very least, what have the White Sox done a really good job on? They have arguably one of the best farm systems in baseball. And that starts off with, I am begging you, Chicago White Sox, let this guy break camp. Please, please, please. Let your the 16th best prospect in baseball, left-handed pitcher Noah Schultz, break camp this year. If he does, I'm betting him to win the Rookie of the Year. I am that high on Noah Schultz. He is a tall, funky lefty, 6'9", 6'10". That guy kind of gives off Chris Sale vibes, is what I've been hearing a lot from with Noah Schultz. He can run it up on the radar gun. He is a pitcher that I am going to want to turn on Chicago White Sox games to watch this year. If he's in the major leagues, right? He was last with the Birmingham Biscuits, the AA affiliate for the Chicago White Sox. Please let him break camp this year. Also, due up this year is their 32nd overall prospect, catcher Kyle Teal. Also, next year or maybe late this year, how much fun will this rotation be? You have Thorpe, you have Noah Schultz, You have Hagen Smith, left-handed pitcher, their first-round draft pick out of Arkansas. I don't know if they rush him up that quick.
No,
it looks like shortstop Colson Montgomery, the 39th overall prospect in baseball, is going to break camp with them at shortstop. Outfielder Brendan Montgomery, 55th overall prospect, not due up till 2027. He was dealing with injuries. He was the first-round draft pick out of Texas A&M for the Boston Red Sox. And then also catcher Edward Cuaro could be breaking camp this year as well. Here's what I need to mention to the Chicago White Sox. Let the kids play. Please let the kids play. Bring up Noah Schultz. Bring up Kyle Teal. See what you got with Edward Cuaro. See what you got with Colson Montgomery. Hell, see what you got with Hagen Smith at the end of the year. Let the young guys play. And if you let the young guys play, you guys are going to win 60 games this year. I think the White Sox can be a 60-win baseball team. I'm going to be on their over 53.5 wins, 52.5. I'm going to shop around for the best available number because that line's done nothing but gone up. I think that's the only thing you can really mess with this team. I will add a future on the Chicago White Sox if Noah Schultz breaks camp. I will bet him to win the Rookie of the Year. That's, I think, the only thing I'll add to this division if we get, and that'll be just like a tenth of a unit sprinkle because I saw 80-1 odds or something along those lines. I need him to break camp though. Or I need him to,
like if he broke camp, then you would get worse odds. No,
I want him. Here's the thing though. I will take, if it's 80-1 or whatever, I'll take 60-1 if he breaks camp, knowing that I'm going to get a full year of him.
Fair.
Because I think he could be the ace of the staff. I am that high on Noah Schultz. I don't remember the last time I've been this high on a pitcher coming out of the minor leagues, other than obviously like Paul Skeens. But we all knew what Paul Skeens was. We're not hiding anything there. No. But for me, this White Sox team cannot be much worse than it was last year, and I really much look forward to sweating this down to probably the last weekend of the year. They finish something along the lines of 55 and 107. They can lose 108 games and still get over their win total. I've been waiting to bet this one for a while. I'm betting the White Sox over the win total. And if he breaks camp, I'll take Noah Schultz to win to Rookie of the Year.
I will say I'm happy with the line I got. Because a month ago, do you know what the win total was for the White Sox when I bet it, Nick?
Probably like 49.5, 50?
50.5. So I got, and now it's up to a 53.
Yeah, I am getting a bad line on this.
I just don't see them being any worse than last year. So I'll be quick with this one because you kind of tagged on everything. This is a White Sox team that's going to still lose 100-plus games. But I just need them to win 51 games so they can lose 112, 111. They can lose 111 games, and I'd be fine. So let's roll. This is probably the ugliest future White Sox. Sorry, my bad. White Sox over their wins. They're making the playoffs. They're winning the Central, winning the AL, winning the World Series. Anyways,
imagine you go from 41 wins to 100 and you win the World Series.
Right. Any thoughts on the Rockets? Nope. 1,000 on 53.5. I put the ticket in this week. Cannon the GOAT. List of GOATs. Over 53.5. 1K. I'll bet them to win the division. Noah Schultz, 100% Rookie of the Year. He's breaking camp already. Wish we got it at 51.5. I got 50.5. White Sox to make the playoffs possibly. Who do you think's winning the World Series? The Boston Red Sox. The Reds. Can I get an alternate total over 60 wins? What would the odds be on that one? Probably some decent plus money on those. That is all the teams for this one, Nick. All of my plays are already on the. I retweeted the Earle Sports Bets AL Central tweet, and I just post my stuff on that now. I will say, and I will give out before we leave. College baseball today. South Alabama minus 2.5, Austin, PA plus 3.5, Grand Canyon money line, San Diego money line, Javier plus 4.5, and BYU money line. So 6 plays in college baseball today. I can guarantee tomorrow because there's probably not going to be a show tomorrow. East Carolina tomorrow. I don't care what the line is. Let's roll. But that is everything for today. And Canada, Nick.
Yes, I am on Canada big time today. 1.5, 2.5, half unit on 3.5. By the way, shop around. It's 53.5, I believe, on Bovada and on DraftKings. But I've already found a 52.5 minus 115 on Bet365. Every game matters with that bet.
Okay. We going over the games? No.
I already gave it out. We already went over it. I went over for a free pick video last night. My breakdown of it. And then it's pretty simple. If that game goes to overtime, I will bet Sweden to beat the United States. Because I think that the United States can take their foot off the gas a little bit, and maybe they can have a little bit of gamesmanship where if you're the United States, who would you rather play in the finals? Sweden or Canada?
Canada.
No.
Fuck, I would want to get that rematch. No?
I wouldn't. I would rather take Sweden in a heartbeat.
I think Sweden wins that game then. Anyways.
So if that game goes to overtime, I will bet Sweden money line. But if it doesn't, I will stay off the last game.
Right on. That's going to do it for this edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. We'll be back again on Wednesday for another one tomorrow. I'm not going to be available in the morning, and I'm going to the ECU game at night. We'll end up doing the next 4 divisions on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. One of them will be a night show. But that's going to do it for today. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out, guys. Or Wednesday. Peace out, guys.